Hello traders, and welcome to the next installment of our Exo Charts Desktop Pro series. In today's video, we are going to be looking at these top and side toolbars where you have all the customization options available, so you can start to get your chart from looking something like this, which is basically just a standard trading view candlestick chart, and turn it into something that looks a little bit like this, or even like this. Okay, so what you are seeing here is exactly the same data. Okay, this is Bitcoin on a 30-minute time frame. The thing with traditional charting platforms such as TradingView is with candlesticks you are limited to just 4 data points. Okay, you know your open, you know your close, you know your high and your low. Now the amazing thing about Exo Charts is you can start to actually look inside these candles and to know exactly what is going on, what the market participants are doing within the candle itself. So for example, if we're looking over here on the left hand side, we can see all of these kind of these different numbers, these different colors going on, and this is basically showing you all of the buying and the selling that has occurred within this candle. So we're going to take this one here as an example, basically this big old wick up and down on here, and you can start to zoom in and start to see exactly what's going on within this. Okay, by changing some of the options that you have on here, you get different views which give you different information. Very much the same as you can see on this one, where you have these lines that kind of show up as you're looking through the charts. Again, different information that you can have. And on this view here, again, we're looking at the same view. There's your big candle in the middle, but it's showing you the information in a different way, which brings you different strategies in which you can use to trade. So as always, please do like and subscribe to the video and to the channel, and we will get started with talking you through each of these elements and how you can start to manipulate a chart from looking like this into something like this. So we're going to start here with just a very simple candlestick chart, much the same as you will get on TradingView, and we're going to start to turn it into something a little bit more exciting. Okay, as with all of the templates, so this one and everything else shared within this video, we do have these free and available to the public on our Discord page. So if you do visit tauruscrypto.com, you join our Discord, you will find our templates there. Okay, you'll find this plus at the moment 3 other templates that are available, and we will be adding to that public library of templates for Exo Charts as this series goes on. If you do need help with loading in your charts, there is a video that's just going to pop up there in the top right hand corner, and you can watch that to basically guide you through how you can start to import these and download them from our server and get them into Exo Charts. But let's just start off here with the simple candlestick chart, and we're going to start to make it a little bit more interesting. So I guess we've got to start here with the top left, so we'll just briefly do that because we have done that in a previous video. This is your show templates one, so right in the corner here is your show templates. This is how you will load your charts in. So what we are looking at here is our Taurus starter template. You can click on this, load full, and that brings you of course back to this view right here. What we have next to that is select instruments. Now, as it sounds, this is how you will select the trading pair that you wish to look at on the screen. Now, as I am recording this video, Exo Pro is currently limited to BitMEX, Bybit and Bybit Spot. However, they will be adding further exchanges in the very near future. So let's just flick through a few of these and you can start to see the different options that are currently available if you do download Exo Pro. So we'll start off here with Bybit. Okay, this is a Bitcoin chart, this is Bitcoin USD, this is the inverse perpetual. What they also have on here is your inverse futures and your linear perpetual, which are your USDT contracts. So we can go on here and we can then load up our BTC, where is it, BTC USDT chart. And what this will show you is your Bitcoin USDT chart on the half-hour time frame. Exactly the same view, so this doesn't change any of the views that you've got. Whatever view you've currently got it on, it just simply changes the instrument and gives you that same the same kind of layout that you are looking at on your charts. So that is of course BTC USDT. Then we can go over here, maybe we can just scroll down and you can see you've got tons of options available. We can load in Link for example, and then you've got the Link chart just here. Now again, there's no need for me to go over any more of these, but you do have BitMEX, Perpetual, Linear, Inverse, and Quanto. And then you have Bybit Spot, which, as it sounds, is Bybit Spot. Next to that, you have your timeframes, okay? So what we are looking at here, and this is the first part that is very important. Okay, so what we are currently looking at is 5 days of 30 minutes price action. Now you have tons of options available here, some of which you will probably have heard of before, and some of which may be completely new little chart types that I will explain in just a moment. So the first things first, what you need to do is you can't change any of these. It is the right hand side, this period section, that is the thing that you click in order to actually cause the chart to load. So what I mean by that is you can go through flicking all of these, choosing all of these that you like, but it will not change the chart at all until you hit that right hand column there. So what we're going to do here is we're going to load, we'll keep it short, we'll keep it to 5 days. And we're going to switch this from 30 minutes down to 5 minutes. So as soon as you hit that 5 minutes on the right hand side, it will switch this into a 5-minute time frame. Now again, you can go all the way down to 10 seconds on this. So if we do go to 10 seconds, what this is now giving us is 5 days worth of data on the 10-second chart. And the other thing about this is you can input your own custom settings. So if you did even want to go down to a 1-second chart there, you can add that onto it. You can see it adds this here, and you can get a 1-second chart loading up. So this could take a while because we are having to process all of these trades. I may have just broken Exo. No, it's okay. So now what you are seeing is every single second a new candle forms. The other things that you have, apart from the standard time frames, so again, you have your seconds, and you can add however many seconds you want. You have minutes, you have hours, you have days, so 1 day up to 10 days, you have weeks, and you have months. So if you did want to have a look at a 3-month candle, then of course, there is your 3-month candle. But if you are looking at a 3-month candle, for example, you are going to need to be aware that you'll need to load a longer look back period. So although we do have a 3-month candle on here, we're only actually loading 5 days worth of that data. So in order to get more data on there, you're going to have to change this to something like, well, at least kind of 91 up to 365 days on here. The issues with that is that with Exo Charts, it does load all the data direct into your computer. So unlike on a web browser where if you scroll through, it's kind of loading as you're going along, and you do get some lag that way. This brings in every single trade that has happened through that entire look back period so that you don't get lag once it's all loaded. Now that can cause issues. So if I were to try and load 365 days worth of data on 3-month candles right now, with this being on 1 tick, and we're going to get to the tick size in just a second, but 1 tick being very fine, precise data points, my computer's probably going to have a lot of issues with loading that, and it might fail while it loads. So if you are looking at lower time frames, mainly you're wanting to scalp, or you're wanting to have very precise units of measurement in order to take good scalp trades, you're not going to want a long look back period. Generally for scalping, I would stick between kind of 5-7 days is plenty, maybe even up towards 14. If I were to load 14 days worth of 1 minute charts here to scalp off of, it's not going to take very long for that to load at all. There you go, it's already there. So that's okay, but if you are going to go all the way back to 365 days, be aware your computer, your machine may have issues with that. I have quite a powerful machine. If you do not, you're just going to have to play around with this in order to find something that does work. So reduce the look back period. Don't go into anything too kind of fine on, so you're going to probably want to avoid the 1 second charts and things like that, and you're also going to want to make sure your tick size is manageable for the computer that you've got. So if you do have issues loading, less look back period and lower tick size is probably going to solve most of your problems. However, if you do, of course, want to be looking at weekly, monthly charts and things, you can do that. You can load 365 days of data, but just be aware that you'll probably have to change your tick size to something like 100 so that you're reducing the amount of data points, you're grouping those all together into much less data that has to be loaded into your computer. Okay, so that basically wraps up your time-based chart types. Now, if you do go back onto here, you can see everything on this is categorized into 3 types. So you have time, which is seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months. Then you have your range-based chart types, which is your trend reverse, your point of figure, your range Y, and your range. And then you have your quantity types, which will be your volume, your delta, and your trades. Okay, so if we do go onto volume, for example, here, and we load in, let's say, a 1 million volume, on the Bitcoin contract, this this is calculated in USD. So what you're looking at is every time 1 million contracts have been bought or sold, this will print a new candle. So I can just bring up the footprint bar statistics on this. So you'll see as we're going through here, every single one of these has had 1 million of trading volume within there. So every time you get 1 million contracts bought or sold, it will print a new candle. That could be made up of 1 million $1 trades, or it could be made up of $1 million trade, or even you could print multiple candles. For example, if you have a 10 million, someone buys a 10 million contracts, okay, this could print a number of candles within that one trade itself. Okay, so every time you hit 1 million, this will create a new candle. And again, you can change your size on here, for example, up to 10 million, up to 30 million, and you can input your own amounts on here. The other thing to note is that if you are going for something like on Bitcoin, okay, it's fairly liquid. It's getting quite a lot of trades all the time. It's getting quite high volume. But if you were wanting to look at something, for example, you go over here and you're looking at, I don't know, Alice USDT. It's probably going to take quite a long time for that to actually get 1 million trades done. So if we do have this as volume 1 million on Alice USDT, you've actually only got one candle basically per day printing here, because it just doesn't have enough volume there to really sustain that kind of data. So you're going to have to be taking that down to a much lower amount. So that is your volume, and let's go back onto Bitcoin and away from the little altcoins, which aren't particularly useful with that kind of setting. So then we have Delta, and again, what we can do here, let's load up a 1 million Delta. And you can see here, so Delta basically is the difference between buyers and sellers at market. So if you have, what this will do is, you can see here on your Delta row, every one of these being 1 million. With maybe a tiny bit of slippage as it just groups data together, but your volume is vastly different as you're going across. Okay, and the reason for that is this is printing a new candle every time either the buyers outweigh the sellers by 1 million contracts, or the sellers outweigh the buyers by 1 million contracts. So that could be 3 million contracts bought and 4 million contracts sold. That would then create a new candle. So sometimes you'll print these very quickly if you're just getting consistent buying all the time and you're just trending up, buying, you're going to be printing these fairly quickly. However, if you are in a range and you're finding that it's a fairly balanced market, it can take quite a while, and you can start to rack up quite a lot of volume before you get that enough of an imbalance within that candle in order to print a new one. So once again, Delta meaning the difference between the buyers and the sellers at market. Okay, after Delta, we do have the next one on our quantity based one will be trades. And again, just as it sounds, once you've hit a certain amount of trades, then it will create a new candle. So let's just load up, for example, 144 trades. So once again, we're looking at Bitcoin. Every time 144 trades has been hit, it will print a new candle. So this can be 144 very big trades. It can be 144 very small trades. And then you'll see over at the top here, your volume does change quite drastically from something like 3.6 million here to going all the way down to like 400K, depending on the size of the trades that are coming in. Okay, so that is your quantity-based trade types. Then you have your range-based trade types. Now, these need a whole video on their own, and I will be doing a video on this, but I will just cover quickly what they are very briefly in this video. So you have first of all, your point and figure. So let's load up a point and figure chart, point and figure 100. So this very, very simply is every time the price reverses by a set amount of ticks, in this case 100 ticks, it will print a new candle. So you need price to reverse beyond the previous candle by a certain amount of ticks for it to print a new candle. Don't worry if you don't quite understand that. There will be a whole video on this where I will be going over the manual and everything in a lot more detail. So that's your point and figure. Then you have trend reverse, which is a personal favorite of mine. So this is something that I do use quite often. That basically being similar to point and figure, but you don't need to fully reverse. So this means that price can chop around a certain level for quite a period of time before you get these movements. It tends to clean up a lot of noise, and it does lead to some really nice price action on here. Now, an interesting thing with the numbers on this is that your number on the left to be the 1.618 of the number on the right. So you're using Fibonacci here as well. So if you're looking at 82 ticks one way, then the 1.618 is going to be 120. It's kind of roughly that thing. What you can also do on here is you can have it based as, because you can import your own ones, you can have it set as a standard kind of trend rev with like 100 tick, and that would look more like a Renko chart, which is another kind of chart type. So your trend rev basically being based off of the Fibonacci, or then you can create it so that you have just set tick sizes, whatever it is your own personal preference. So the final two range-based chart types are your range and your range Y. So if we start off here loading a range chart, let's choose range 50. Then if we load this in, we can see that every single candle that is printed is 50 ticks between its high point and its low point. So that can be either a whole body, like you see here, with your high to your low being 50 ticks, and that's continuing down. And then you get these candles here, which have a bit of a wick on them as well. So you can see 50 ticks between your high and your low. You will now and again, especially during periods of like high volatility, it may group some of this data so you get a slightly bigger candle, but that's just because, again, it's grouping trades together. Don't worry too much about that. It doesn't happen very often. The difference with range Y, so if I go for a range Y candle, is that will only print a new candle when the body of the candle has gone beyond the certain amount of ticks. So you can see here with your range, you do get wicks that are, so your wicks and your bodies, it's always the same amount, whereas on here it is your body that is important. So the candle body itself is important. So on this one, we are looking at 50 ticks between your open and close of the candle. You can get wicks in either direction. So that basically cleans up a little bit more noise, makes the chart look a little bit more blocky, and you can start to trade from these wicks that are here. So let's use a couple of examples here to demonstrate. So you can see on this down move here, you have price opening and closing 50 ticks below, 50 ticks below, 50 ticks below, and so on. And then you have this candle just here where you can see this wick to the upside. Now, what happens is you get that wick up, but it probably stalls around 45 ticks. Then it starts to reverse on itself and finally closes 50 ticks below the open of the candle itself. So therefore you can have these wicks that are there because price hasn't actually reversed beyond that open of the candle by 50 ticks. The same as how you can start to block out groups like this. You can see the open of this candle here. You can see it starts to move up, goes back to the 0 point, and then closes 50 ticks below. On this one, you get closes 50 ticks above, closes 50 ticks below, closes 50 ticks above, and that's how it can create these wicks. So after that, we have our tick size section. So from this, you can change the amount of data that is on the, basically this column on the right hand side, the amount of price points that you are putting into one bar's worth of data. So for this, I am going to need to just quickly change the statistics that we do get a little bit further on this toolbar here. So we're going to change this, let's say, just to a volume profile, and we're going to go, we don't actually need to do the text type for this. I'm just going to make this a color candle. We're going to get to these and explain these in just a second, but this will demonstrate your ticks. Okay, so for the ticks, you can take this. So one tick on the Bitcoin chart is worth $0.5, so 50 cents. So every one tick is worth 50 cents. So you can see as we're going along here on the side, again, sorry, this is small, but we can see as we're going along here on the side, then every single tick that we get, we are going up by $0.5 increments. So this is just a quick example of how the tick size changes the data that you are seeing here. Okay, so just very simply, you can see here 201 contracts bought and sold at this price of $38,855. And if you, this is at one tick, so this is a one tick setting, $0.5, the quantity that was traded at that price. If you switch that up onto two tick, you can see it combines the column below there and it groups these two together. Okay, so if you do go onto that, you can see 204 contracts now, adding on that 201 plus that 3k to get it to two ticks. Now it's the same thing. So if you were to go to three ticks, you're going to be combining three lots of this data together. Okay. And then once again, going back to 1 tick. So if you go, for example, all the way up to, let's say, 10 ticks, you're going to be combining 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 price bits of data all together into one column, one row overall, and that will give you much kind of wider ticks on here with more data in there. Generally speaking, what you'd want to be doing if you're scalping, you're going to be wanting to look on the low tick sizes, because that's going to give you the clearest data of where exactly this volume and everything else is coming through. And then if you are looking at the higher time frames, you're going to start to want to group this together into higher tick sizes here. So you're going to be willing to look at something like 20 tick, 50 tick, 100 tick if you're looking at things like the 30-minute, the hourly, the 4-hourly, the daily, and so on. So the other important thing to note here on the tick size is it will change depending on what instrument it is that you are looking at, what trading pair you are looking at. So of course on Bitcoin, you can see up here in the top left hand corner, it tells you 1 tick equals 0.5. $0.5 because we are looking at dollars. However, if you were to change that, for example, to Bybit spot, and you were to load a .BTC chart, obviously that is now calculated in sats. So this will tell you here that 1 tick is 0.0000001 BTC. So maybe 1 sat or 100 sats or something like that. And you can see as you're going along here, this is increasing by that fraction of a Bitcoin increment on the way up. So same as always, if you start to group these together, it will be, yeah, you're increasing the tick size the same as you would be on the USD pair, but just be aware of what your tick size actually is on each instrument, okay? Again, if you're going to go to Bybit spot here and you're going to load Aave, for example, then you can see that 1 tick is $0.1 on this occasion instead of $0.5 like it is on Bitcoin. You're looking at much lower prices, so therefore you're going to be kind of the fractions of that is going to be a little bit less. So as you're going along here on the right hand side, you can see 118.5, 118.6, 118.7, and so on. So yeah, just be aware of, it will always tell you up here in the left hand corner what your tick size is and how you can then group it together. So next to your tick sizes are your cluster modes and your text modes. So we're just going to go through these two together. So what you can see first of all here on your volume mode, this is what we were just looking at previously, and because we're on 2 tick, we can see that for every dollar increment in price, this is the amount of volume that has been traded. And on volume profile, you are getting wider bars, so the bars become wider with the more volume that is there. So you can see here like one contract, 500 contracts, very, very small bars, basically not filling in anything. And then, of course, you have here 423,000 contracts bought and sold at 39,650. That is giving you a much wider bar going across here. Okay, then next down, we have your delta profile. So this is changing this from just being a typical kind of gray or whatever color it is that you choose, to your blue and your red. So this is bids and asks and your delta. So this showing you that there has been more contracts bought than sold at this price. But what you have to do, of course, in order to change that, because we're still seeing the same figure, you will change this to delta, and you can see at this point we have had 257,000 more contracts bought than sold at that 39,650 price. And again, here you get the red ones, minus 134k delta, minus 43k delta, and so on. So again, it's the same. You get the wider bars for the higher delta and the smaller bars for the lower delta. So then we go down once again and we can look at your bid ask. So the important thing is here, there's a common misconception. So people would think like bids being buying and asks being selling, but that's not actually the case. So your bid is actually the people that have sold at market. So that is people that have sold into the bid. So you're basically looking at this as a diagonal thing. So at this point, 83,000 contracts have been sold into the bids, and then here your asks, which is 340k worth of contracts being bought into the ask. So your bid and your ask is actually the opposite to what a lot of people think it is. I hope that does make sense. So what you can see here is 83,000 contracts sold into the bids, and 340k contracts bought into the asks, into the offers. So you hit the bids or you lift the offer. That's kind of the general terminology of this. And we can just go through and we can let's take this 39,650 price as the example, and we'll just flick through. So you can see the bid ask is 83 to 340k, which means that we have a delta of positive 257k, and then the volume of 423k. So what you get here, 83 plus 340 equals 423, and then if you are subtracting 83k from 340k, then that gives you your delta of 257k. Okay, so that is the way that all of this is calculated. So they are the main types: your volume, your delta, and your bid ask. Now if you go onto your volume cluster, it's kind of bright. This is basically showing you the same stuff. So we'll switch it back to volume here, and you can see that instead of it being wider bars, you're just getting shading changes on this. So the darker shaded areas are the ones with higher volume, and the lighter shaded ones are the ones with less volume. You go down to your delta, and it's the same here again. Okay, so if you're looking at delta, the darker shaded, looking at your red and your blue here, so your darker shaded red ones being the ones that are seeing more selling than buying, so more selling into the bids than you are getting buying into the asks. And with the darker shaded blue ones here, you are getting more buying into the asks here. So you're getting the positive delta or the negative delta on that. From here, you go onto your delta ladder, and this basically just shows you which side is won on each of these. So if you go on to, for example, on here, the bid ask, you can see at this point, of course, 10 contracts beats 0, 4 beats 0, 13 beats 4, 4.3, 10k beats 4.3, 86 beats 73, and so on. So then the final one that we have is your delta profile, and that is showing you again the same as on the delta ladder, but instead of just getting the full bars shaded, you are then getting the wider bars going across as you're getting more volume. So it's kind of similar to what you're getting on your profiles. It's a combination of the two, so you're getting your ladder and your profile on that. And then you have one more text type, which is your imbalance. Okay, so you can see here on your delta ladder that obviously the highlighted bars are the ones that have won against the opposite side. However, on this is showing you on the text, it highlights certain text, but you do get these ones where often you see like both sides have won, okay, or both sides have lost. So this is a different way of calculating things. I'm going to briefly move this on to, let's just say, a delta cluster so you can see this clearly. Okay, and what we are looking at here is that you are, instead of going across like this and you are adding or subtracting the two across from each other, okay, you're going diagonally. So 11k on this occasion beats 322 contracts, 49k beats 16 contracts, 105k beats 54 contracts, 246k beats 1k contracts, and then you get these ones where there's actually no imbalance there, and that is because 95k and 59k are fairly similar. So I think as default, Exo makes it so that it's a 250% difference between your bid and your ask here. So if it's not 250% difference, then you're not going to get these highlighted sections. So that is the difference between seeing, of course, just the horizontal view that you do get on other ones, and this being the diagonal view, which is showing you your imbalances as you are going down from your right hand side down towards your left as you're coming down here, and seeing which side has won. And yeah, the useful thing about imbalances is it helps you to see slippage, or when there is an imbalance between obviously way too many buyers or way too many sellers at a certain point. So the great thing with this is let's just take this off and let's just go to let's just even make it a void. Okay, so you can see, and what you can see here is you when you get these large sections where you see just here, you can see very clearly, okay, you can see the the buyers are winning. Okay, you're seeing a lot of green coming through on this candle, clearly outweighing the sellers at any point within this, until you start to get up here, and then you start to find that you're getting less imbalances, and then you come up towards the kind of the next candle over here, and you start to get a little bit more red, where the sellers do start to overtake the buyers. Now, if you zoom out on this as well, you can see the numbers still remain fairly clear for a while, but if you do zoom out for long enough, it just turns to these little dots. So again, you can see here, you get a lot of buying imbalances on the way up, which does then increase the probability that, okay, you're leaving a bit of a void here, you're getting some slippage on the charts. What happens? You come down, and then you're getting a lot of selling imbalances on the way down here. So you don't even need to see the actual figures. You can just use these dots as an example, and it becomes quite clear, okay, where you are seeing possibly trapped traders at either the highs or at the lows of these candles, okay, when you do see these imbalances starting to play out. So that is your imbalance text type. I do hope that makes sense. It is quite a complicated concept again, and we will probably be doing a little bit more on this, as again, it might need a dedicated video just to explain the full mechanics of it. So now we've got that out of the way, let's go on to something again a little bit more simple. Okay, we'll remove the imbalances, we'll remove everything on here, and we're just looking at our candle modes. So very simply, you have none, which gives you a void. So if you are just wanting to look at the text only, of course, you can just see the text only there. Next down, we have color candle, very much the same as you would see on any normal hollowed out candle on something like TradingView. You then have your color box. So this is just your open and your close without the wick. You have your bordered candle. So again, similar like you would get on something like TradingView without it being hollowed out. You will then have your flat candle without the border. You have your mono candle, so this is taking away the colors of that, clearly mono. Mono box without the wicks. You have your open, high, low, close candle, OHLC. So again, like you've got with a candle here, instead of it kind of containing all of the data points within there. So if we do turn text back on, for example, the bid ask, and we do something like this, you can see that this little candle is just towards the side of it, rather than it kind of taking out the whole section. So the different candles that have different views within here, if you're just using the open, high, low, close, you can see here you have your open, your close, this one without a wick, but your high and your low here next to where you would have your normal profile. You then have your open, close, so again, gets rid of the wick, and you have your high, low. So this is just all of the candle together and the color of that candle. So again, this one is green, but it's just showing you the whole thing, so doesn't matter where the open and close is. You have your embed, which puts it into the middle. So depending on what view you're looking at, this will put that candle straight into the middle for you, and you get your wick there as well. So if we do turn this on to, say, a delta cluster, it will move it over to the side here, wherever your profile is. So it will just kind of wrap around the information that you are looking at. Okay. And finally, you have your Exo candle. So this is just Exo's very special candle that starts green and ends off red. It's kind of nice looking, and it kind of wraps everything together quite nicely. So you've got your wicks on there, you've got your body. It doesn't really matter of direction. You're just getting it as a nice little fancy colored candle that makes your chart look nice. So with your cluster modes, text modes, and candle modes, you do obviously have these settings down at the bottom here. So this is where you can basically customize what I have just shown you, so that you can change different things. You can change the font size, you can change the cluster mode, you can change the sensitivity. Okay, so if we're looking at something like a delta cluster on here, you can change the shades sensitivity on this, so you can make it much clearer. You can then fade it, so you can make it so that you remove the background, which is kind of useful because that was very bright in my face when I did turn that on earlier on. So you can do the fade mode, change it so you've got a nice little view that when you start to zoom out, it just becomes very clear again when you're seeing all of the kind of the shading and everything going on with your imbalances and so on. If you go onto your candles, okay, this does bring up the settings onto this one, and you can do things like you can show your POC. But there we go. Okay, so you just got to go show point of control. And you've got to then fill the point of control, whether you're going to have it just bordered. So in this case, you can see this borders the POC, which is the point in which you've got the most volume, the most kind of contracts bought and sold at that price, or you can have it filled in whatever color you like it to be. And then, other options that you have here, show your naked point of control lines. So these are just being point of controls from each of these candles. So this just being a 1 minute chart, this is showing any points of control that have not been hit by the market. So if you do get these imbalances on the way up, you can find where the point of control was for the range that was previous, and you are likely to always come back down and fill those like naked points of control where you are getting the majority of your buyers and sellers in their positions there. Okay, so I'm not going to go over the settings too much. It's just a case of try them out and see how it affects the chart itself. And yeah, we will move on now. Let me just turn off the NPOCs. We'll keep the points of control on there. And then we'll finally move on to the last little section on here, which is your indicators. Okay, so within this, you have your footprint bar statistics. Okay, so let's go into this. So you can see the row that this has given us down at the bottom, which is giving us volume, delta, CVD, POC, and a trade count for every single bar that we are looking at. So if we zoom it across to where price currently is, you can see here, as we're going along, you can see these footprint bar statistics changing as we're going. Now, this is quite a small view at the moment, so let me just make this a little bit bigger, and you can see, let's make it to 50 or even 100. Okay, 50 is the limit. So this is as big as you can make it, and then you can zoom in. You can see the volume for each one of these 1 minute candles. You can see the delta for each one of these 1 minute candles. You can see the CVD. Now this is cumulative for the day, or again, there are options for that. You can see the point of control of each candle, and you can see the number of total trades within each candle here. So on here, you do have obviously the options for that. So if you do click on the little cog settings wheel here, then you do have your different kind of settings that you can do for that. You can put the legend onto the left hand side rather than on the right hand side here. You can show a background. Of course, we don't need to do that. You can change the color of the volume. Okay, so if you did want the volume ones to be different colors here, you can see, of course, the various colors coming around on this. What you can also do, of course, it's the same thing. You can change like the color grades on here. So again, with delta, if you bring that all the way down, you're just looking at either red or green or nothing. You can show your text, you can choose not to show your text, you can long numbers, short numbers, all of these kind of things. You can fade your clusters, you can fade your text, and so on. You can show it as a percentage. So this is very useful for delta as well, where you can see, so at this point you're getting 71% more being bought at market than sold, and so on. Down to your CVD, okay, you have your settings here where you're either looking at full data, so this is as much data as been loaded, or you're looking at your session, so this is from the day, or again, you can customize your session start times if you would like to. Your point of control, your trade count, and then you can go shade them, do whatever. And then on here, you can also go, so if you just go back onto your main, you can add a new row onto this. So let's say, okay, we've got 2 volumes here. Let's say we want to add on time. Okay, now clearly we're on a 1 minute chart, so this is always going to be 1 minute, but time is quite useful if you're looking at, for example, a volume-based chart type, where you want to be able to know how long each of these 1 million or 10 million candles have taken to actually print. So this gives you a really nice example of when you're getting a lot more volume coming into the market. You can see 31 seconds here it took to print this candle, as opposed to 26 minutes that it was taking just a little bit earlier on today. So again, this is just various ways that you can customize your footprint bar statistics on here. Okay, next up you have your trade size. So within this, if we do just remove footprint bar statistics, you have trade size, and the same again. What I will do is just increase this up to 50 so you can see. And this is basically giving you all of the trades dependent on what their size is. So you're looking at trades coming in that are below 20,000 contracts, all the way up to trades coming in that are above 796,000 contracts. Again, you can change the color sensitivity, you can customize all of this, and you can change the colors of everything here. Within this section, you can change your levels. So what we're looking at on here is you can basically fill this by AI. So depending on what is the kind of the balance of the market, you can tell it to say, okay, just tell me what are the bigger buyers, what are the smaller buyers, and just make this for me. Or if you wanted to, you can input your own custom ones. So you could say, I want to see only things below 1,000. So I will need to override levels and set manually. So if you do want to override the AI fill, you can do this to levels, trades below 1,000, and let's go above 1 million. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then of course you can choose to remove some of these as well. So if you just wanted to look at trades below 1,000 and trades above 1 million, you can click that, click the override, rebuild the chart, and it will rebuild that for you. And you can see here trades, this is actually showing me between 250k and 1 million and less than 1 million. So I've done something there. I think I've clicked the this one instead of this one. So this is 1 million plus up at the top. So if you do just want to do it as 1 million plus, again, you'd have to then just rebuild the chart, whichever way you want to do it. Okay, so rebuild that, and now there we go, you're seeing only trades above $1 million and only trades below $1,000. So that is your trade size, T size. Okay, then you have delta bars. So your delta bars is showing you your delta coming in throughout the day. So of course, each time a candle is printed, you are getting either more buyers than sellers within that candle, or more sellers than buyers. So this is instead of it being a typical candle like you would have here on price. So if we do remove all of this and we put it into a color candle, okay, you can see here it's quite different looking. So this is just showing you the price movements, and this is showing you the delta movements. So here you're getting a big movement in price, but not as much being bought than sold, which kind of suggests to you that the books are kind of thin. It's not taking a lot of buying volume to push the price up that high. But when you do get up to this area up here, and even here, you start to see absorption. So you're actually getting more buyers coming into the market, but the candle closes red, meaning that you're getting sellers at limit sitting there on the ask side waiting for these buyers to kind of hit them, and then it's very easy to push price down. So you're not actually needing as much volume to push price down as you were needing previously to push price up. So that is your delta. Again, I do have a video. I'll do another little video, ping up at the top there, which tells you more about CVD. You then have open interest. So open interest is the total amount of contracts that are currently open. So as people close out of their contracts, the open interest goes down. As people start to open new contracts, so as you're getting more people buying and selling new contracts, then this starts to go up. So often what this means is if open interest is following a move, it means that, so in this instance, we are looking at price moving up. I'm just going to make this a bordered candle so you can see it more clearly. In this case, price going up, open interest going up with it, it does suggest that this is a more healthy move, that you are getting more positions opening than it maybe being a bounce that is caused from, say, shorts closing or something like that. Okay, so that is your open interest. You then have your net longs and your net shorts. So I'll show you these together. And again, your open interest is the combination of both of these things. So if you are getting longs opening, you can see these are going up. And then when it's going down, you are getting longs closing. So you can see at as price was coming up here, up at the highs here, you had quite a lot of longs closing. If we do bring on the open interest, you can see a drop off in open interest as you're having both longs and shorts closing at that point. Again, here you are looking at your short positions only. So these are short positions closing as price is going up, likely to be stop losses hit and stuff like that, and or just a bounce from these positions just closing out and being like, cool, yeah, I'm done, I'm happy, take my profit, whatever. They're closing out, and then of course you do start to see these rising again. So at the moment, price moving up, longs increasing, suggesting that this is for now a healthy move until we start to see some absorption around there. So that is yeah, your net longs and your net shorts. So as with everything else, the indicators here are fully customizable. They have options available for them. So if we do go back onto delta bars, what we can see if we do open up the settings for this, then you do get various customization options for that. So you can show this in either candle mode, which is what you're seeing here, or histogram mode, which is basically showing the bigger the bar, the more delta there is on that, and it's not kind of accumulating as you're going along. So it's just another way of showing the data. You can find divergences and stuff this way, as well as on the candle mode. You can have it as full data, or you can have it as visible range, which is just what we're seeing right now, or you can have it as session, which is starting from the day. You can make your numbers short or long here on the right hand side. You can change the scale of it, all of those kind of things. You can make it so you got nice, there's your red, there's your green here. So you can see as you're kind of coming back up into those areas, you can add divergences onto this. So when you do get a, let's say for example here, you've got negative delta on the candle, but the candle closes green, that will show you a single candle delta divergence. Again, here you can see the candle has closed red, but you have green positive delta on that candle. So once again, you have a single candle delta divergence, which does bring about various strategies in which you can trade that. You can add on the CVD line. Okay, so the CVD line is just following the price, and then there is a way that you can just remove the bars, so you can just look at the line itself, and then you have various settings on here as well. So yeah, if we add in our open interest and we go to our settings here, you can see again various customization options available. You can change this so you're looking at different kind of numbers and figures that show up on the open interest itself, so it can show you the delta percentage from the open interest as well. You can change the scale of it to full height, etc. You can do long numbers, short numbers on the side as usual, and you can do it as zigzag mode. So the quite cool thing about this is you are looking then at the trend itself. And what you can do again, remove the bars, remove the colors of the bars. So then you have just removed the bars and you're looking at very simply the trend of open interest, rather than looking at it from a candle to candle perspective. Okay, so that is again open interest options that are available. Let me just do that so I don't ruin it for myself later. And then for net longs and net shorts, you have the same kind of customization options available. So all these different things, whether you're looking at full data or just for the session, the opacity of the fill and everything like that, you can turn on zigzag for this as well. So you can then look at the trend for the zigzag settings on your net longs and your net shorts, and you can actually sync these together so that if you have set settings for one thing, you can sync it so that you're getting the same settings on your shorts as well. So if you're looking at the zigzag, you can just click sync and it will sync it across to everything else. So yeah, that's just the settings on there, briefly going over those. So that is in a nutshell the top bar on Exo. Now I know I did say earlier that I was going to do both the top bar and the sidebar here, but this is quite a long video, so I am going to wrap it up there, and I will do part 2 of this video very soon. I will try and record that straight away. And within the next video, we are going to be going along this left sidebar here, which is your general kind of tools like your Fibonacci's, your VWAPs, and all of these kind of nice things, and also how you can turn your chart into a TPO market profile chart, how you can bring on these little volume profiles that you have on the side, and all of that juicy stuff in the next video. So thank you very much for watching. I hope that was interesting for everyone. I hope that was interesting for you. And yeah, please once again do hit that like button, hit subscribe, check out tauruscrypto.com, where you can learn much more about how we trade on these charts every single day. Join our community, and yeah, I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers, bye.